Alright guys, TechCrop here back again today, hopefully enjoying your Saturday so far, and today there is so many things to talk about regarding day one of the Seattle home series, so let's just hop right into things then without wasting any time. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. But let's hop into a few things that happened before action even kicked off yesterday, that being the Florida Mutineers announcing Awakening onto the squad. I'll talk about in more detail over the coming days, exactly what I think about this move. Of course, Mork's moving to the substitute bench. The interesting thing to mention here, of course, is that Slacked comes out with this tweet. Some people say he was trolling, but we'll go into that. I've heard from multiple sources my guy uses a strike pack and cheats. What do you think, Twitter? Since deleted tweet, of course, as it tends to be. Bezo, well known for being like #1 on the GB ladder, replies, is this serious tweet or a troll? Obviously the tweet's been made unavailable, and as you can see here, Slacked replies saying, I'm serious. So if he is trolling, then he's not making it very obvious, right? And it's not a particularly good attempt. If you guys don't know what a strike pack is, it's effectively this thing. Instead of buying a scarf or a battle beaver, other manufacturers are also available. You get one of these things, you slap it on the back of your controller, and these two paddles on the left and right, you can program them to whatever, and effectively it's like a cheap scarf alternative is what it's been called. However, it also has inbuilt mod packs, as you can see down here. Adjustable rapid fire to make your pistol shoot like Nagafen. This is really, you know, adjustable quickscope, things for noobs, right? Auto run, like what is this stuff? But anyway, adjustable anti-recoil is where, you know, it's been interesting, right? Because you could theoretically use this, no one would know, and it would help reduce your recoil in game to the point where you don't have to do as many micro adjustments for recoil at long range. You just have to focus on hitting your target, and the gun kind of does the recoil control for you. And at that point, that's probably going to win you a couple of gunfights a map, you could argue. And at that point, it's like, well, damn, this is cheating. And, you know, if that is the case, then, you know, this is the reason why you can't use these at events, right? You can't turn up to a LAN and slap one of these on your controller. That's not an allowed device to use in an event. Now, of course, you're playing online from home, anyone could technically be using one of these, right? So that's where Slacked accusation comes from. Do you think there's any, you know, credibility to this? Because, of course, this guy has played on LAN in the past, so, you know, he obviously wasn't using it there, but maybe he's using it at home. Like that's you know, that's the rumor, right? So yeah, I wonder if you guys think there's any justification behind this, or is it just Slacked being a little bit salty as he can sometimes be? So let's discuss Chicago Huntsman Paris Legion, game one of the day. This is a really interesting series, of course, seeing the Chicago Huntsman in action for the first time with Brustini, open up with a nice 250-203 win against Paris. Both hardpoints in this series were very close, but the Search and Destroy was where I was impressed, right? A new team like Chicago coming into the weekend, you're not expecting their Search and Destroy to immediately be very good. It's difficult to immediately be a good search team when you've just made a new addition, so the 6-2 win was very impressive. They do lose the domination, but go on to close out the series in a you know, a very close hardpoint in the end on Hackney Yards. Paris definitely nearly could have come back and won this one, but Chicago clutched up when it matters. So yeah, they're still favourites for the weekend in most people's estimation, but yeah, closer series than maybe some people were expecting. Then again, Paris can be a good team and they could mix things up against OpTic Gaming in the losers bracket, as we will see. But yeah, Chicago with a pretty good opening to the weekend. Their weekend is definitely going to get harder as it goes on though, but of course with Brustini in the squad, you would expect them to continue on improving. These were the statistics for it then. Former with a 1.2. Brustini had a pretty poor opening series, but you know, at the end of the day, doesn't matter if you go on and get the win, right? So yeah, the slaying on the Chicago side was pretty inconsistent, to be honest, but we'll have to see how that develops going forwards. First series for Brustini, first win for Brustini in the Chicago Huntsman team, so you can't really complain if you're a Huntsman fan. There's obviously steps that this team will take going forwards. Lovely 1v2 from Scump in the Search and Destroy as well, which I probably put on screen a couple of minutes ago now. Let's go into the second series of the day then, probably a more interesting one, that being LAG versus London Royal Ravens. Another new team, right? Royal Ravens coming in with 0. I did predict them to win this one in a 3-1 fashion, but they made it slightly too close for comfort as far as I'm concerned. The respawns looked pretty good for the Ravens, winning the first map 250-249 on Gunrunner Hardpoint. Then the Search and Destroy got interesting, right? Because Gorillas went up 4-0. And that's the thing with Gorillas. I've always thought they were a pretty damn solid team in Search and Destroy. With Blast on the squad, Decimate, like, they're going to be a good search team. And they have been, right? They go up big in this one. Royal Ravens have that insane round where Wiskin pops the 4-piece with the sniper. And it almost looked for a time like they could have brought this back here on Piccadilly. Some would consider it like a home map for London, right? But yeah, Gorillas win it 6-3. Then the domination, Royal Ravens win that one. And then it goes game 4. This is where I thought, okay, Royal Ravens, their respawn, been looking pretty good. Their scrims especially. This is where they'll close it out. But Gorillas win an impressive map, 250 to 146, so it's not easy by any means. And London are forced to really work for it into a game 5, which they do end up winning. So yeah, I was impressed by the clutch factor really from Ravens, because when it went to game 5, I was somewhat concerned that Gorillas were going to close this one out, because they're a good search team, as I said. And given Royal Ravens are a new squad, you're not expecting their search to be particularly good, especially because Zero hasn't played Search and Destroy in many a month, right? But they do make it work on the St. Petrograd. Impressive clutch factor, to be honest, for a number of players in the London squad. Shawnee especially had some key rounds, and Dylan in the final round with a crucial 2-piece, and he was just cracked out of his mind, right? Like, he almost got that 3rd kill as well. So Royal Ravens close it out in 5. Not the ideal result for them, I'm sure, going in, but I expect them to warm up and continue to improve, as I do with the Huntsmen throughout the weekend, playing with this new lineup, right? The first series is never easy of the weekend, and we've seen events in the past, like the Florida one that they won, or not the Florida event, but the one that they won at the Dallas event, where they lose their first matchup of the weekend and run all the way through losers to the championship. Before we go on to that match, here are the standings for this one. So Wiskin with a 1.30, just pretty much breaking even. And if Dylan is the only guy negative on your team, that's a pretty good sign, as long as he's not being completely left out to dry. Because if he has a good series, Royal Ravens are scary. Then you've got OpTic Gaming versus Rocker, and this is where things got kind of spicy for the day. So, interesting series on the whole. Had a couple of round 11s in this one. Rocker win the first map, OpTic Gaming bounce back. Rocker win the third map, OpTic Gaming bounce back. Then it goes to this Arkloff peak, Search and Destroy once again, where OpTic Gaming have had these tough times against Atlanta FaZe, but also winning a Game 5 round 11 against Toronto Ultra in a couple of weekends ago. But in this one, Rocker make it work in the round 11 here. OpTic Gaming can't clutch up, and yeah, it wasn't the greatest series from any of those OpTic guys apart from Slasher. Rumours are that maybe Gunless is coming in after this weekend. But these are the interesting tweets from Slasher, right? Like, he talks about how this weekend he's been having to play on 100+ ping consistently. Their Texas server is conveniently unplayable, pathetic. Someone needs to be held accountable. And then he says, like, love how it's an easy excuse every time we lose. Lost to FaZe last weekend, didn't say a thing except how I personally made a mistake, which is actually a fair point. This is actually true. I look back through his tweets, and from what I remember at the time, was on 70 to 80 ping last weekend, by the way. Now I'm on 100 ping at minimum. What am I supposed to do? I'd rather not play. So clearly Sasha pretty frustrated once again at the servers, now the situation is going. If they'd have won the series, maybe he'd have said the same thing, maybe he wouldn't, right? But yeah, OpTic down to losers in a game 5 round 11 fashion. It doesn't get much tougher than that, but Rocker obviously a good team, and difficult first round matchup for the OpTic Gaming Los Angeles guys. Final series of the day then, that being Subliners versus the Seattle Surge. The new Seattle Surge with Enable in the starting roster. 250, 175, 6-4 in the search, and this is where it got interesting, right? Because they decided, after they lost the first map 1 hardpoint, as expected, right? New York, very, very good hardpoint team. The slaying power on that squad is really impressive right now. But Joey Nubsy and the Seattle Surge decided to make a swap and bring Panda in for Enable in the Search and Destroy. I talked about how, look, this team is not going to be good in search with Enable in the squad. They bring Panda into the team for search. Interesting change, obviously. You know, some people would say they should bring Teddy Rex into the squad and whatever, but they probably don't have the practice playing with Teddy. But there was the first mid-series substitution of the entire league. Interesting to see. I think this is a good idea. I think some teams could potentially utilize this more. I quite like this prospect in theory. So yeah, we'll have to see how it develops going forwards. But Enable out for the Search and Destroy, but it doesn't really help them, right? They lose 6-4 regardless. They do win a very close map 3 domination, which they just about hold on to. And then game 4, St. Petrograd, Subliners close it out. So yeah, Seattle Surge once again on the receiving end of a 3-1 defeat. So another tough series for Seattle. This scoreboard credit to Easy Mack, the previous one's credit to Cam, and links in the description box below. And yeah, once again, Octane with a 1.27. Enable just has a horrible series in the respawn with a 0.6. Welcome back to the league. And yeah, New York on their side, Mack with a 1.23, and New York win a pretty comfortable series. The slaying power in this squad just far and away above Seattle, and you know, we might have to talk in the coming week about what exactly Seattle's steps could be from here if they do have a poor weekend, but they do play the LAG tonight, as we will discuss. The really spicy thing just to mention that followed up from this series, you guys might remember Slacked was talking about Mack earlier in the week, or maybe last week, about how Mack was an online and he didn't deserve the spot on the team. and all of this kind of stuff. Mack, of course, playing against the Slacked and the Seattle Surge in this series, then tweets this gif out of Slacked getting smoked. And then we get this whole reply. I don't think Slacked actually replied to this, but TJ comes into the replies. Do something on LAN before you talk trash, brother. You got blessed. Someone had to say it. Guy's got an ego over online league matches. Neither of you should be talking any trash. Here comes Sim. Leave the fry man alone. TJ goes, nah, we can definitely talk trash. So this is pretty, it's pretty crazy to me, right? Like, I don't really understand why TJ and Slack are coming at Mack here. Like, okay, he's in the league. Yes, he's playing online, but he was picked up partly because of his good results on LAN earlier in the season on the hybrid black squad at the Minnesota Open event at the start of the season. So with that all being considered, like, why are they talking trash? At the end of the day, Mack's dropping big numbers online. Of course, he hasn't even had the chance to prove himself on LAN yet, right? And he keeps dunking on these fools. So, you know, I just got to say, like, I feel it feels kind of satisfying when Mack comes out and drops a huge KD against these guys, because I don't really see it's justified them talking trash. But maybe you guys have a different opinion here. And yeah, we'll just have to see how the rest of the weekend goes. It keeps things spicy, right? I love stuff like this because, yeah, it creates the rivalries. And I'm happy that with the CDL coming into play, I was somewhat concerned that maybe this wouldn't be the case and that all this stuff would be dulled down, but it doesn't really seem like that's happening. So yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts on this one in the comment section below. This is what the bracket looks like right now. So the 4 matches that we know are happening: Royal Ravens, Subliners, Huntsman, Rocket in the quarterfinals, Gorillas, Surge, Legion, OpTic Gaming in the first knockout matches. And then it will move on from there. And this is the schedule for tonight. So 6 PM my time, 1 PM Eastern, 10 AM Pacific time, as you guys can see on screen. These matches will indeed kick off. And yeah, intrigued to hear your thoughts on the day down in the comment section below. So like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks to Midnight.com for sponsoring the video. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.